Director Taylor,
Yes.
you are on the air.
Good evening. Welcome to the Committee on Parent and Community Engagement, September 9th meeting. Madam Secretary, can you please call the roll? And I am calling the meeting order.
So noted. Director Carr,
Present.
Director Leonard is excused for tonight. Director O'Halloran,
Present.
Director Simpson is also excused for tonight. Chair Taylor.
In attendance.
We have three members of the committee present. We also have President Peterson on the platform.
Thank you. At this time, we will have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of the listening audience.
Buenas tardes. Para las personas que desean escuchar esta junta escolar en español, por favor de llamar al teléfono 312-626-6799 y poner el número de junta que es 608-130-5362. Una vez más, el teléfono es 312-626-6799 y poner el número de junta que es 608-130-5362. Gracias.
Thank you. Now I ask Madam Secretary to lead us in the resuscitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. I will remind members to please keep your devices muted to avoid interference.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Pursuant to Board Rule 1.06, this meeting is being conducted virtually. Board members may be participating from the Central Service Building in order to allow as much public participation as possible. This meeting is being broadcast onto radio station WYMS 88.9 FM via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube screen, the links to which may be found on the MPS webpage on the broadcast page and system. For each one of our items, we will hold a discussion and public hearing. Individuals who wish to speak on tonight's items were required to register in advance. I ask those who are waiting to speak to remain on the platform until you are called upon to speak. Just as a reminder, Robert Rules of Order dictates that all comments should be directed towards the chair of the committee. Also, any questions or requests are to be directed towards the chair, who will then determine the most efficient way to address them. All speakers are asked to state their name and spell their last name before proceeding with their comments. Each speaker will have 2 minutes and 15 seconds to speak. After a speaker's time is up, they may continue to follow the meeting at one of the broadcast options mentioned previously. To ensure the good order of the meeting, harassment or intimidation tactics of any kind, including inappropriate language, will not be tolerated. The chair reserves the right to remove anyone engaging in such behavior from the platform. Those removed from the platform may continue to listen to the meeting or access the agenda items online. However, he or she will not be allowed to continue to be on the platform. Written testimony may be submitted to the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53201-2181, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email it to governance@Milwaukee, spelled all the way out, .k12.wi.us. Also, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda, items, and attachments online, you may do so by visiting esb.milwaukee, spelled all the way out, .k12.wi.us. Madam Secretary, what is the first item of business?
Item 1 is a report with possible action regarding the data and progress associated with the Office of Civil Rights report. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
it seems like I'm back. Administration, do you have any comments on this item?
Yes. Good evening, Chair Taylor and members of the committee. Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools. We have taken the feedback shared from those who have given public testimony during the 2020-21 school year to inform how we will report our successes while continuing our progress. At this time, I will ask Mr. Matthew Boswell to present the monthly report regarding data and progress associated with addressing disproportionality. I ask that you pay special attention to the very last slide, which details what we have formed as the basis for our future monthly reports. Mr. Boswell.
Chair Taylor, members of the committee, good evening. Matthew Boswell, Senior Director of the Department of Student Services. I will go over the data and progress associated with our monthly disproportionality report for September 9th, 2021. We'll begin off with our 5 priorities just as our basis, our foundational status of how we approach things within the district. I will start with Action 2. Action 2, interventions for students. Action steps associated with Action 2. Provide PLP classroom behavior data used as early warning data, as indicated last year, as well as district culture and climate toolkit. Our September benchmark for such. 100% of schools identified a building intervention team, BIT monitoring PBIS intervention systems. Action 3, outreach to students. Action steps, all middle and high school students identified student discipline committees. Progress guide and office hours shared with facility and posted. September benchmark, 100% of middle and high schools host student meetings consistently. Action step 4, outreach to staff. Action steps, all schools identify a discipline champion and a discipline work group as indicated last year. Process guided through an initial professional development for a discipline champion. September benchmark, 100% of discipline work groups meet monthly, consistently. Action step 5, outreach to community. Action steps, host 4 quarterly community conversations as indicated last year and accomplish. Feedback with loop in feedback from the community as associated last year. September benchmark, advertised schedule for quarterly community conversations. The individual 4 dates have been selected and will be shared. Action step 7, professional development. Action step, continuation of courageous conversation about race, 3-year plan. Courageous conversation about race conducted 6 sessions of explorations with 363 staff members. Self-paced modules offered through Learning Management System, which is our LMS system on a variety of associated topics. September benchmark, continuation of 3-year plan. Action step 9, August suspension events, which is broken up into individual baskets and categories through out-of-school suspensions, with a total this month of 321. Student services suspensions was 94. Things that kids were referred to the Department of Student Services for a hearing in reference to violations of the Student Code of Conduct. Total suspensions was 415. In comparison to the last full academic school year, we are down. It was a total of 445 for the 2019-2020 school year. So in total number of suspensions, and compared to last year, this time when it was a full academic year, we are down. Conference, meaning behavior approach, meaning that staff or administration had a conference with the kid to prevent issues. The ones that was documented was 14 total attempts. I know this is something that administrators do constantly throughout the day. what we're going to engage and continue to train our principals to do is to take that moment to outline and put in Infinite Campus, document the conference, because this happens a lot. And because of this action, it actually alleviates and reduces a lot of events, behavioral events from taking place. Administrative counsel, meaning documented attempts within Infinite Campus that prevented suspensions and other detailed things from happening that our administrators documented. That was 89 events. Detentions were documented detentions in our Infinite Campus system where we said that we provided this disciplinary approach to prevent further behavioral code of conduct violations. 4, mediation, bringing students together, working out issues. We had 13 incidents of documentation, repairing harm circles. We had 4, and restorative conferences, we had 11. Action step 9, suspension by race. As broke down, 85% for African American students, 9% for Hispanic, 2% for white students, 1% for 2 or more races, 0.7% for Asian students, 0.7% for American Indian students, and 0% for Pacific Islander students. Action steps, district plan. The district discipline disproportionality team will be identified to work towards the goal of reducing disproportionality and suspensions across the district. This will be a bi-departmental team that will work directly towards that goal. Schools identify 1 research-based best practice to address disproportionality. Start to have schools identify and become masters in leveraging their behavioral approach to address suspensions and disproportionality based on your data and incidents as reported. Courageous conversation, practitioners cohort completed. September benchmark, district disciplinary team meeting and creation of mission and vision. Clear mission, clear vision in terms of the sole purpose and the operation of our district disproportionality team. Action step 10, continue. Next steps. Update alternatives to suspension toolbox. Continue to update that, provide district-wide training as always to our principals and anyone else associated to make sure that we are using every measure possibly allowable to us before referring students for suspension. Provide schools with a list of supportive services for students, making sure that each school understands that these are all the supportive services available in our district, the appropriate time to use them, and implementing a plan of mandatory use. Data analyzed by school staff, drilling down and really starting to understand school by school what are the issues, what are the individuals that need to be addressed directly, and who are the individuals that need additional training and support. Book studies available, making sure that we continue to align book studies that will help the staff grow and articulate as a department. Committee to review disciplinary action levels, and this will be a huge undertaking. We will be convening a committee to look at our student code of conduct violations. This will be a huge undertaking. Things that are currently allowed by district agreement to be a suspendable offense will no longer be as such, which will be the goal. We will implement tools of such use to prevent the conclusion of suspending students for said code of conduct violations. So that will be a large undertaking that we will invite many categories of individuals to the table to have that discussion and rebuild our student code of conduct. September benchmark, alternatives to suspension toolbox shared with all discipline champions with specific schools and staff members identified for professional development and coaching. Next steps. Going forward, the monthly reporting associated with disproportionality for 2021-2022 school year will focus on the following: promote and provide resources to schools on alternatives to suspension, including the alternatives to suspension toolbox. Work with schools to make certain counseling and supportive services are utilized consistently. Analyze and evaluate individual school data related to suspensions to determine best course of action to address disproportionality. Continue and expand book studies district-wide aligned with need. Form district committee to identify, develop, and implement strategies to reduce suspensions. Thank you. At this time, we will entertain and answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you for that. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do have, we received 2 pieces of written testimony on this item, and we also have 8 people who are on the platform to speak on this item.
Okay, committee, we'll go to the platform. Madam Secretary, we'll take public comment at this time and then come back to committee members.
Okay, so it looks like the first person that we have to speak on the platform is Ray Chappelle. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record and begin your testimony. Okay.
So we see them on the platform, or is
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are right here on the platform. One moment, please. We're going.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Got you. Ray Chappelle, Chappelle.
Thank you.
Chairs of the committee, members of the committee. I'm a white educator, MPS alumni, and a member of Anti-Racist White Educators, or RE Milwaukee. Although I support our district working closely with community members and community organizations in order to address the systemic oppression that is perpetuated by those making decisions on both sides of Elite Street and within individual classrooms across our city, I am concerned about the pattern of inequity that exists whenever our district is tasked with engaging the greater community. Are the quarterly community conversations going to be anything like the ESSER Fund listening sessions? Will families and community members receive text reminders with less than 24 hours notice like the ESSER funding listening sessions? Or will the district expend a considerable amount of effort making sure that the dates, times, and locations of these conversations are clearly communicated to all families and communities, including families and community members that are unhoused, without internet access, and without adequate transportation? And thank you, that's it.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, we do have Justina Howard on the platform to speak on this item. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record and begin your testimony.
Good day. My name is Justina Howard.
Please spell your last name and begin your testimony.
Howard, Howard.
Thank you.
So thank you for your time. I was coming in at exactly 4:55 p.m. CST, so I missed all of the presentation, but I registered today to speak on behalf of students with disabilities in Milwaukee, specifically those who are attending MPS. I wanted to speak specifically about access to high quality schools. We know that over 50% of students with disabilities are engaging in learning activities, social, academic, in schools that are lower performing. I think that it's very disadvantageous for the students' success and prosperity opportunities. I would like to have the opportunity to, again, engage in conversations with community members and processes like this, but also with seeing what changes and specific tactics that you have that will improve access for students with disabilities to high quality schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I have received a text message that people are having difficulty getting on the platform. So at this time, if you could go to the committee and then return to speakers, that would allow us enough time to troubleshoot and allow anyone who wished to speak on item number 1 to be able to speak on this item.
Madam Secretary, it appears that Chair Taylor is not currently at her station.
Yes.
So, should I should I take over?
So at this point, you can definitely
paused. Okay. As the only other committee member here, Director Carr, do you have any questions for administration at this time?
It's crazy. I wanted to hear the testimonies first, so I'll wait until after the community speaks, if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, would it be out of line for me to ask questions as both the current chair and, is that okay? Can we proceed with my questions then?
Yes, please proceed with your question.
Okay. So one of the pieces of written testimony that we received was on action step number 2. There was an inquiry about how we're supporting tier 1, either through training and if we have any budget allocations for classroom supports this year for tier 1. Administration, would you be able to comment on that question, please?
Yes, Chair O'Halloran and members of the committee. So at tier 1, we are talking about those universal supports. So we do have modules that are listed in the report for any staff member to engage in. All schools were required to engage their staff in a practice during opening week, whatever would meet their needs. For some schools, that might be talking about expectations, might be procedures, might be updating the T-chart, really depending on their needs, and they are submitting their agenda and signing on that. So our tier 1 support is kind of differentiated across the district our size, and so we are looking at creating more additional modules for school staff to engage in on those various topics. But that is the list that is currently in the report, is a list of those modules that are currently available. And then tier 1 continues with the PBIS team and those coaches supporting those regions. But I would agree with the right that it is an emphasis of tier 1. And that is also where that PLP data comes in, where schools are capturing those tier 1 behaviors and what support is needed going forward.
Thank you. We also, in that one of the written testimony, received a question on action step number 3 around the student discipline committees. So are there policies that the students would like us to address, or how is that feedback loop being created so that we're hearing from that student voice? I know this is a question that comes up fairly frequently around this report. So can you comment on that, please?
Yes, Chair O'Halloran, members of the committee, John Jagman, District Discipline Manager. So yeah, that is the work of that team. August, their goal was to identify the students and create a meeting space. Their first meetings are occurring in September. They do meet twice a month. One of those meetings, it is required to specifically talk about student recommendations in terms of policies, practice, things of that nature. So that is something we can come back and regularly update as needed. But currently, it would be all the historical stuff. And we did present it at the end of last school year. Some of the conversations last year were a little bit different, being virtual and everything. But that team that does meet, that is one of the required meetings, is to talk about what practices students want to see, what policies, things of that nature. And then we do have our fall student leadership summit, and we are locking in the date for that October, November we are looking at. And then that's when we are going to bring all of those committees together virtually into a shared space for students to talk across the district, across schools.
Okay, thank you. And it appears I see a note from one of the people who had registered to testify. I don't actually know if she is on the platform to speak. I don't see her, but that might be the configuration of my Zoom. So, Madam Secretary, were you able to connect with the people who had registered to testify?
Other than Ms. Chappelle, we did not have anyone else on the platform. We do have 8 people registered to speak, so people are logging on as we speak. And currently, we have 1 individual who has succeeded in getting on the platform, and that would be Sean Clark. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your public testimony.
I hear something, Madam.
Yeah, hi. Am I on?
Yes, you're on.
My public testimony as far as this goes, I'm a teacher.
I'm sorry, could you please state your name, spell your
Reached out
last
to
name?
a couple of the board members a couple of weeks ago regarding all this stuff that we got going on about COVID. You know, I just find it hard to believe that we're not going to leave it up to the family.
Mr. Clark?
Yeah, and I think he may be speaking on another item, ma'am. Madam Secretary, did he go?
I literally just got out of school, so I apologize.
Mr. Clark?
Yeah, go ahead.
This item is on the OCR report, the Office of Civil Rights report. Is that the item that you registered to speak on?
No, I'm registering about the mandating of masks, actually.
Okay, so that would be for the next meeting.
Is that the one at 5:30?
That is the one at 5:30. Yes.
Well, I apologize for taking your time.
Please remain on the platform because I want to be sure that you have your voice heard.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, is there issues with the other speakers getting on the platform tonight?
So I did indicate that I did speak with technology and indicated that we had received a message from a board member stating that people were having difficulty getting onto the platform. We had 2 individuals who were able to get on the platform right away, as we normally do, and the platform is open. But we did have 8 individuals registered to speak. So we are calling these individuals to make sure that they have their link to be able to get on the platform.
Okay. And I did see a message in the chat. I do believe that was the young lady that spoke as I had to take a quick break. Is that correct with the last name, Howard? I heard her come on before I got off. I don't know what happened.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, you are correct. Yes, she did get a chance to speak.
Okay. And so we're at the process now where we are calling those individuals, trying to get them on the platform?
That is correct. And while we are doing that, you are able to continue with the discussion and then possibly move on to the next item to allow people to be able to speak on both items 1 and 2.
All right, thank you. I'll do that. For any other committee members, do you guys have any questions or comments on this item? Vice Chair O'Halloran.
Thank you. And I'll just make it really brief because I know we've got a packed night. So I know we've selected dates for the quarterly meetings, I think. I know we've commented and shared out the dates for the DAC meetings. Can you tell us when the next community conversation will be happening and what the communication strategy will be to the community to ensure a lot of people join us and provide their feedback?
Taylor, members of the committee, John Jagman, District Discipline Manager. So we are looking at the date of October 6th, 2021. The flyer is hot off the presses right here in front of me. Our communication strategy is going to be, we're going to get it on all of social media, working with Office of Communications as we speak to get it all over social media, share it through parent coordinators as well to get through their networks, because they all have different like networks within Remind and other avenues. It will be in Thursday updates next week as well for all principals to start to identify their families to attend. But we are looking at October 6th and then quarterly. So pretty much every other month going forward, do it. And it will be a virtual experience. So hopefully that leaves individuals a little more access to attend, because they can just click on the link and be able to attend from wherever they are.
Thank you. Vice Chair Halloran, any follow-up or any other questions?
I'm good.
All right, thank you. And just to make a public announcement, Madam Secretary, I hope it's okay to say that we have 2 meetings tonight. The meeting that we're in now is PACE, and right after we have a special board meeting. So for those individuals who may have been waiting to speak for the special board meeting, I just want to let them know that this is PACE, and that meeting will start immediately after this one is finished. So I don't want anybody to not understand either what's going on or be in the wrong meeting. I want to make sure everybody gets their chance to have public testimony tonight. With that said, Madam Secretary, we will go to item number 2. And if we have to come back to item number 1 for those who are still trying to get on the platform, we'll do so.
Madam Chair, before we move, Angela Lucas Foley is on the platform to speak on this item. So if we could hear that testimony before moving.
Absolutely.
So noted. Angela Lucas Foley, please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Thank you, Dr. Mann. Angela Lucas Foley, Lucas space Foley.
Thank you.
Good evening. I am speaking as a member of Are We Milwaukee, the anti-racist white educator group in Milwaukee. Are We Milwaukee has consistently pressed the Milwaukee Board of School Directors and MPS administration for more than a year, along with our partners, the Black Educators Caucus of Milwaukee, MICA, and Leaders Igniting Transformation, for district-wide professional development on racism and bias. Because this work is a priority for us, we will continue to monitor the monthly board reports on the Office for Civil Rights MPS resolution, with a specific focus on monitoring the implementation of courageous conversations about race, as well as monitoring district-wide support for systems that are both anti-racist and promote positive, supportive learning environments across the board. Any system-wide process takes resources and time. What evidence does the community and the board have that the resources and sacred time are being devoted to create the school environments where all students and staff feel welcomed, loved, safe, and have the ability to thrive? It was mentioned that online modules were offered to district staff. Is this the best we can do when data is indicating that our systems are not in place for our students? Action step 2 on page 1 references heavily the ongoing implementation of the behavioral multi-tiered system of support. Where is the support, financially and time-wise, for this system? Are We believes in the importance of the multi-tiered system of support, MTSS. MTSS relies on 3 tiers working together. Tier 1 is school-wide. To this end, when was the last time district-wide Tier 1 training was held? What budget funds have been set aside for Tier 1 training? The District Culture and Climate Toolkit is also referenced. Are We believes that MPS administration should provide the board evidence of the use of the District Culture and Climate Toolkit, specifically how are schools being supported in the use of this important toolkit? Can the board have a presentation of a best practices example to support climate and culture in the classroom?
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Madam Chair, that was
Yes.
the last speaker that we have on the platform to speak on this item. We are still making phone calls.
Okay, and thank you for that. And hopefully Ms. Fuller sent in those questions. If not, if she can send them in so we can get some of those answers, that would be great. Right now, let's move to item number 2. I know we have a packed night, and when the other ones come on, we'll come back to number 1. So can you read for the record item number 2, Madam Secretary?
Yes. Item number 2 is a report with possible action on the student restraint and seclusion. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Thank you. Administration, any comments or presentations?
Yes, Chair Taylor and members of the committee. In alignment with state statute, we're providing a yearly report on restraint and seclusion relative to the 2020-21 school year. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Matthew Boswell to provide additional background information, after which we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have in regards to this item. Mr. Boswell.
Yeah. Chair Taylor, members of the committee, Matthew Boswell, Senior Director of the Department of Street Services. Under current law, annually by October 1st, the administration must submit to the governing body a report that includes data segregated as follows: the number of incidents of seclusion during the previous school year, the total number of students who were involved in incidents of seclusion during the previous school year, the number of students with disabilities who were involved in incidents of seclusion during the previous school year, the number of incidents of physical restraint during the previous school year, the total number of students who were involved in incidents of physical restraint during the previous school year, and the number of students with disabilities who were involved in incidents of physical restraint during the previous school year. To ensure compliance with Wisconsin State Statute 118.305, the administration has taken the following steps. Training has been provided to staff across the district in use of restraint and seclusion. These trainings also focus on positive intervention and supports to address potentially dangerous behavior. In total, more than 2,000 staff members have been trained over the past 5 years. For the last 6 years, all principals, school leaders, and special education supervisors receive in-service on the requirements of Wisconsin State Statute 118.305. The district mechanism for recording incidents of seclusion and restraint has been significantly enhanced by the Infinite Campus Student Information System. In the 2020-2021 school year, there were a total of 4 students, including 2 students with disability, involved in 5 incidents of seclusion. There are 13 students, including 10 students with disability, involved in 25 incidents of physical restraint. During the 2019 school year, the administration directed schools to submit restraint and seclusion data in accordance with Wisconsin State Statute 118.305. A total of 441 students, including 250 students with disability, were involved in 253 incidents of restraint during the 2019-2020 school year. A total of 79 students, including 56 students with disabilities, were involved in 91 incidents of seclusion during the 2019 school year. That is my report, 2-year comparison, and at this time, I will entertain and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is there any public testimony on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no public testimony on this item, and for just so that we're keeping abreast of what happened with the previous item, many of the speakers were registered for the 5:30 meeting, but chose the PACE meeting. Yep.
Okay. So, Madam Secretary, are you saying there are no other individuals that were to speak for item number 1, just so I'm clear?
Madam Chair, it appears that to be so. Yes.
All right. Thank you for that. Committee members, do you have any questions or comments for item number 2? Is that Director Carr?
Yes. Question for the administration. Who are these trainings mandatory for all faculty and staff throughout the schools? And who are the providers of the trainings that will support the efforts to restrain in the event that it is needed?
Thank you. Administration.
Yeah. Chair Taylor, Director Carr, members of the committee, it is mandatory training for administration, principal, assistant principal, special education, supervisors, so on and so forth, and safety. It is a voluntary training for teachers. Teachers can sign up and get the training if necessary. And the reason that it is lined up like that, the individuals mentioned are usually the ones that are the percentage of restraining students is usually not the teacher. It can be situations of the teacher. And if the teachers are interested in receiving such training, they have been allowed to attend. The Department of Special Education, as well as the Department of School Safety, are responsible and have given training on such, as well as the Department of Student Services in terms of restraint and seclusion law processes and also procedural matters of such.
Director Carr, any follow-up?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other committee members or other directors have any comments or questions on this item? All right, thank you. Seeing none, Madam Secretary, the next item.
Item number 3 is a report with possible action on services provided to students with disabilities in the least restrictive environment, the LRE report. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Thank you. Administration, any comments on this item?
Chair Taylor and members of the committee, the quarterly LRE, or least restricted environment report, is before you. I have Jennifer Mims-Howell to provide you with the key data points and progress that we have made since the last report. Jennifer.
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Good evening, Chair Taylor, members of the committee. I am Jennifer Mims-Howell, Chief Academic Officer. The information provided in tonight's report shows that Milwaukee Public Schools exceeds the state expectation for students included in the least restrictive environment. The percentage of children with IEPs aged 6 to 21 who receive services with their non-disabled peers from Milwaukee Public Schools is 83%. The least restrictive environment performance indicator is one of the components of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act of 2004, which includes many other items that are assessed yearly. This indicator shows that the students with disabilities in many school districts across Wisconsin are included with their non-disabled peers. Again, Milwaukee Public Schools exceeds that number. The students with disabilities in the areas of alternate education is an area Milwaukee Public Schools continues to work on with training of staff, students, and families. Indicator 5B is the percentage of students in alternate curriculum. This curriculum is modifications of general curriculum and also includes different programmings for these students. Students in indicator 5C are students who are educated in residential treatment centers, and our home and hospital homebound students also is below the state average at 0.32%. Milwaukee Public Schools continues to offer parental trainings as well as trainings for staff who continue to support the students with modifications and accommodations in ambitious instruction, social emotional learning, as well as behavioral supports. That concludes my report for today. Sorry, one more thing. The data that you are looking at in front of you for the August-September LRE includes the students who were enrolled and attending early start schools and a projection of the students who began in traditional schools on September 2nd. This concludes my report. We are prepared for any questions you might have.
All right, thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have any public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, we have no written or public testimony on this item.
All right, thank you. Any committee members have any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, I have a quick question because I don't want to speak from the chair. I probably ask all of the time, are we in compliance with our IEPs?
Chair Taylor, members of the committee, thank you for that question. At this time, Milwaukee Public Schools remains in compliance with the IEPs that we have written for the students who are in early start schools.
Thank you for that. Okay, seeing no other questions or comments, Madam Clerk, next item.
The next item is item number 4, the report with possible action on the annual school procedural compliance self-assessment, the PCSA. This is an informational item, And although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Thank you. Administrations, any comments on this item?
Yes, Chair Taylor and members of the committee. The last item on the agenda this evening is the annual PCSA procedure compliance self-assessment. I'll ask Jennifer Mims Howe to provide an overview of the report, and after which we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Jennifer.
Thank you, Dr. Posley. Chair Taylor, members of the committee, I am Jennifer Mims Howe, Chief Academic Officer. The attached report regarding the annual special education Reading Drives Achievement procedural compliance self-assessment is reported to the board at the beginning of every school year. Tonight reports provide special education compliant results from the 2021 school year. The procedural compliance self-assessment, PCSA, was completed this year in the spring of 2020, while our students were being educated in the virtual environment and our school district remained closed. Since 2003, the items assessed have changed and varied, but the focus remains the same: increasing accountability for the services provided with students with disabilities, support for families, and the continuing monitor of IEP compliance for our MPS school district. Each school receives their results with the expectation that this data will be included in their school performance plan, as well as planning for events and activities in the 21-22 school year. This year's focus was reading achievement, disability-related need as it relates to reading achievement, and implementation of number 4, which is reporting progress to parents, and disciplinary, number 2, which is a corrective action that specialized services and student services work on together, offering an annual training to district school leaders and administrators. I will now turn the presentation over to Amy Kowalski, who will share with you the results from the 2021 PCSA. Amy?
Chair Taylor, members of the committee, I'm Amy Kowalski, Director of Special Education. For the 2021 school year, MPS and DPI agreed to an adjusted number of RDA PCSA items. Instead of 28 items, the adjusted number was 11 items. The items were in the areas of evaluation, IEP, implementation, and discipline. Of the 11 items assessed last school year, 7 items were scored above 90% compliance, 1 item was scored as NA, and 3 items scored below 90% compliance. Areas of strength were, first, the IEP team's documentation of the student's current reading achievement. This documentation must include information from parents and guardians, classroom-based assessments, and district-wide assessments. Second, the team's statement of the student's disability-related needs. This statement must identify the skills and behaviors that will be the focus of the IEP. Third, the team's statement of supplementary aids and services or accommodations to be provided to a student in both regular and special ed settings. And fourth, providing IEP progress reports to parents, guardians. These reports inform the parent guardian of the progress the student is making toward all goals in the student's IEP. Discipline item 2 was assessed as NA because no students were removed over 10 days for disciplinary reasons last school year. Areas in need of growth include the statement of the student's present level of academic and functional performance, a description of the extent to which the student will not participate in the regular ed environment, and the requirement to review the student's IEP at least once a year to determine if they've made progress toward their goals. To encourage continued parent-guardian involvement in IEP activities, the Specialized Services Department frequently collaborates with the Strategic Partnerships and Customer Service Department. This collaboration includes participating in events such as Foro Latino and Celebrating Abilities, as well as supporting the work of the Special Education Liaisons for Families. To continue improving in all areas assessed by RDA PCSA, the Specialized Services Department supports school personnel through professional development opportunities and inclusive practices, positive behavioral supports, specially designed instruction, and IEP development. These opportunities are in addition to specialized services support in regularly reviewing IEP activities and providing feedback to school-based personnel on these activities. Jennifer?
Milwaukee Public Schools continues to offer school-based strategies and district-wide professional development to all staff who support students with IEPs on their goals, student achievement, as well as providing family supports and collaboration. In collaboration with other departments, families receive the support from Milwaukee Public Schools that is needed to bring the district to 100% compliance in our PCSA items, but also put students on a bright future to what they need. We are now prepared to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is there any public comments on this item?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, while there are no specific public testimony or written pieces on this item, we do have two individuals on the platform prepared to speak on item number 1 when this is complete.
Thank you for that. Any committee member have any questions or comments on this item or any other director that's on the platform? Director Carr.
First foremost, I want to say thank you to the administration for your hard work on this. Being a former special education teacher, I know the challenges in that world all too familiar, and I just appreciate all that you all have done. My question specifically, and let me correct that, all that you have done and all that you continue to do. My question specifically is, how were we able to ensure compliance during the pandemic when we were in virtual learning or remote learning? What measures were put into place to ensure compliance and adherence to this action plan?
Administration.
Chair Taylor, Director Carr, members of the committee, Jennifer Mims House, Chief Academic Officer. During the closure, students' IEPs were rewritten to indicate a contingency plan. The contingency plan stated the types of services that could be provided in a virtual environment. For our students on alternate curriculum, their IEPs were written to reflect the skills they were going to work on in various content areas. And our students in general curriculum were supported during office hours by their special education teacher in general curriculum. Parents were also offered opportunities to speak with the teachers during the Google Classroom, as well as during their office hours. And for students who received supports from therapists or related service providers, they also were times set up where they could work one-on-one in the virtual environment. As of February of 2021, 3 sites were opened up. We had 300 seats for students whose families felt they should come to receive in-person services. In those 3 sites, we did have over 100 students total as far as attendance on many days, making sure that students did receive some in-person instruction if parents chose that.
Director Carr, any follow-up comments or questions?
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you all again. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Seeing no other hands up for questions or comments on this item, Madam Secretary, we'll go back to item 1 with those individuals that are on the platform. And just for our listening audience, because it probably seemed like we're kind of back and forth and it's 2 different meetings tonight, can we reiterate what item number 1 was so that we're all kind of aligning and on the same page?
So noted. Item number 1 is the report with possible action regarding the data and progress associated with the Office of Civil Rights report. This is an informational item, and although it was noticed for possible action, no action is required. The one individual that we have on the platform to speak on this item is Kelly Pfeiffer. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record and begin your testimony. It appears that the device.
Hello?
We go. Hello there.
I actually intend to speak on item number 3. I'm
So
not sure
noted. And just for the record, for for those listening. Item number 3 is a report with possible action on the services provided to students with disabilities in the least restrictive environment, the LRE report. Please begin spell your last name and please begin your testimony.
Yes, my last name is Pfeiffer, Pifer.
Thank you.
In speaking about LRE and the laws that surround it, I think there has been an elephant in the room for a long time about the data that is missing attached to this item, which is the percentage of special education students distributed throughout the district. Speaking from a high school lens, if we are looking at 20% special education as a district, all schools theoretically would hover around that percentage. Unfortunately, that's not what is happening. It's not what has happened for years. And I don't think that's equitable for our kids, regular or special education. My school, my small high school, is now creeping up on 34% special education students. We also have a large population of English language learners. Meanwhile, schools very close to us are getting close to the single digits. We're talking 10, 11, 12% special education. So I think if we are to be in fidelity with the law of what is a least restrictive environment, we need to start looking at it as a district, and we need to start looking at the enrollment office and what's going on down there, because this is not an accident. It is happening for a reason, and it's not right. I yield my time.
Thank you. Madam Chair, we do have one individual.
Is this the individual for item 1?
This would be the last individual on the platform to speak on this item.
Okay. And Madam Clerk, just to make sure we're clear, this is for item 1?
This is for all 4 items in the PACE agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. The item is back with the committee.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I thought it was one more person. Are you saying that's it for tonight? No more public comments?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, there was an individual who had registered to speak on the item. We have been in communication and they are not, they did receive another link yet tonight to log on to the meeting and have not logged on, and we have called to confirm that they are not speaking on this agenda. And we were told, technology was told, yes, they are not speaking on this agenda tonight. So that completes the level of public testimony for all 4 items on tonight's agenda.
Okay, it has been a busy night. Thank you for that, Madam Secretary. I'm saying we have got through all of the agenda items for tonight and all of the public comments or testimonies. We thank you all for attending PACE. The meeting is coming to adjourn. It's closed.
Madam Chair, if you could reiterate the reminder regarding the next meeting, please.
Absolutely. We are going to our 5:30 meeting. For those individuals or those board members that are on, we are to go out, Madam Clerk, correct? And then we are to sign on to the 5:30 meeting. For those individuals that are on the platform, but on the platform for the 5:30 meeting, they are to stay on the platform, but stay muted and keep their videos off.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, logging out. Have a great night and see you soon.
Thank you.